Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids, elementary, middle, and high school age. We are in our 12th year homeschooling this year. If you are not subscribed, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you are notified of all of my future videos. Today I am going to be doing a homeschool plan with me in my Erin Condren teacher planner. I'm going to take you through how I plan out my week, what I write down, the things I keep track of, all of that fun stuff. Today's video is in collaboration with Abby from Rooted in Rest and Jessica from the Waldock Way. I will have a link for the playlist for everyone that is participating in the description box so that you can follow along as well. So let's get started. Okay, so this is my Erin Condren teacher planner. This is what I've been using since 2015, I think, for homeschool planning. It works really well. I have 3 kids. Each kid can have 2 columns. How I have worked this in the past is it would be Emma, Jack, Lucy, and then history, science, and brave writer / read-alouds would be over here. Now I'm actually doing 2 columns for Emma because she has quite a bit more work that I need to work on with her and plan out. And then 1 for Lucy and 1 or 2 for Jack, depending on what I have on the schedule for him. I do color code pretty much everything. It is easier for me. My eye is drawn to particular colors for each of the kids. Lucy's school is not super in-depth planning for me because we have gone through all of these resources 3 times, so I'm mainly just writing down that I want to cover, history, science, reading, math, writing, etc. And then I can just check it off and I just move through the resources as needed. Okay, so the first thing that I do is I write down everybody's names up at the top. I've done several of these like homeschool planning videos in the past. I do have a planning playlist for 2022, 2023. I'll leave a link for that in the description box if you are interested in seeing it. Every week is different. I do plan weekly because I need to make sure that I have enough time during the week to get done what I need to get done, and our weekly schedule as far as activities outside of the house changes. It changes weekly. So that is what it is. I just, it is what it is. So first thing that I'm going to do is put this on the side. It'll be easier to work in. So the first thing that I do is I actually will consult my life planner calendar, my family calendar that has everything on it, and write down what activities we have going on outside of the house for the week. And this week Emma has band on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It really depends on the week as to what days she is at band. She takes band at the public school because there is no homeschool band or music options in my area, unfortunately. So we are tied to the public school schedule for that. And it just, it's right in the middle of our day, our homeschool day. So I have to make sure that I'm planning enough margin around getting her into the car and getting my other kids into the car, dropping her off, coming back to the house, and then getting back to pick her up. So I haven't really figured out a good use of that time as of yet. Sometimes I will run to the grocery store or run some errands, but yeah, that is kind of what we do. And you can't see on the screen, but I've got all of my binders and books and things that I need to plan for the week ahead. All of the resources that we use. Some of the things are easy, mainly Spanish too, because Spanish is done by days. There's 180 days of lessons. We do double up on Spanish. some days. I actually need to see which days we're on. So today Emma has a Spanish test. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to that today or not. I usually do this on Sunday. I did not do it on Sunday this week, and so I'm a little bit behind schedule this week. Usually I do try and do all of my planning on Sunday afternoons. It's just time that I will usually set aside for that, and it works out better if I can get it done on the weekend. But when I can't, you know, it's okay. We just have to continue moving ahead. So this week for geometry, I just got this book last week, and Emma has been struggling a little bit in geometry. One of the reasons was because I think I was not printing out her lessons. We use teaching textbooks, and for the past few years I would print out her lesson. She would read through the lecture and, you know, sometimes watch the lecture online, do her problems on paper, and then enter them into the computer for grading. But I for some reason was not doing that this year. You know, when life gets busy, you forget some of the things that you just typically are in a habit of doing. You just get out of habit sometimes. So anyways, this week we are going to be working on the basics of geometry to really shore up some of the geometric proofs that she has been working on. I unfortunately hate geometry, and so that is going to be a little bit more of a challenge for Mom to help her with. I'm really great at algebra 2, calculus. I can do geometry. Is not one of the things that I excelled at in school. I mean, I did fine. I actually did quite well in geometry, but I don't remember any of it. And I remember what I am remembering. I remember that I did not like it. So these books, the Big Fat Notebook series, there's an entire middle school series as well. I think I've mentioned that several times, but they started coming out with some of these high school books. So I have the geometry one. I also have the biology one to help with Emma's biology a little bit. And I like how they are written. I like that it's pretty easy to understand. It has questions at the end of each chapter and then the answers. So it just kind of helps. So we will go through this together, her and I, and yeah. She will also continue working on her teaching textbooks lessons, but this is going to be our priority for the week. She is finishing up reading Pride and Prejudice. I can't talk and write at the same time. She has read Pride and Prejudice several times in the past, and so she is just she is reading it, and the way that the book is, I've mentioned this several times, is it's a page of text and then a page of notes, so it's taking her a little bit longer to get through the actual book because she's reading all of the notes just for extra information. So I'm hoping that she will finish the questions this week, and I haven't really been requiring her to do too much of the actual reading. Like, I'm not assigning her reading. She just reads it as she wants to. But she is going to be starting Romeo and Juliet, and I forgot her binder. So Emma is going to be starting Romeo and Juliet. She has done one of these Shakespeare Made Easy plays before. It was The Twelfth Night, which she thought was hilarious, and we just actually watched She's the Man with Amanda Bynes, which is kind of like a modern retelling of The Twelfth Night. The way that these books work is there's one side that has the actual text and then like a more modern English interpretation on the other side, in case there are any issues. Emma is very familiar with the Romeo and Juliet story, so I don't think it'll be hard for her to go through this. In fact, I was so pleased with the classical literature selections this year because They're all books that she really enjoys. Either she's read them before or has interest in them, so that is always helpful. All right, next she has constitutional literacy, episode 17. And then let's see, she also has biology. I can't remember what the module is, but she will start reading for the next module. And then after she reads, she will do the questions that are associated with the biology that she's read. And then what she does is she watches the video from the thumb drive. There are little sections. We just got this thumb drive from Apologia a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, and it has it's not like a full lesson, but it does drill down on the important parts of each section in each of the modules, and it has the labs, like a video of how to set it up and some of the things that you ought to be seeing. I didn't know that that was really something that we needed because I typically buy all of my materials from Sunlight, and that wasn't one of their recommended resources. If you ever decide to do Apologia high school level courses, I cannot recommend enough to get that thumb drive because it is very, very helpful. And then, so she will just repeat that. So it's kind of like she reads, she answers the questions, she watches the thumb drive, and then we will probably have a lab somewhere here. I have learned that we really need to have a separate day for labs because, like, outside of the actual work, because they seem to have a lot of setup and cleanup. And actually, even having this amount of work in addition to the lab is going to be a challenge now that I'm thinking about it. Yes. All right. Now, typically, I will have a lot more stuff to write down for Emma. This week, I do not. And the reason is because we are starting NaNoWriMo on November 1st. It is National Novel Writing Month. If you've never heard of NaNoWriMo, it is where you are writing, your goal is to write a 50,000 word novel every day in the month of November. You build up to that 50,000 word goal, but they also have a youth writers program associated with NaNoWriMo. We have been using that for 5 years. This is our 6th year doing it, and it is really no pressure. It's no pressure. It's not final draft kind of material. It is just learning to use your writer's voice, to give your kids an outlet to write what they want to write without any expectations. My kids really enjoy it. I've always put a priority on letting them write what they like, and so my kids really do enjoy writing. We don't do a ton of formal writing curriculum until more middle school. So we are starting November 1st, and I want to have plenty of time to dedicate to that, so I really didn't need to have a separate column for Emma for this week. So let me see. I think that is all I need to plan out for Emma, which is good. And also, because we have band 3 times this week, it makes it a little bit more challenging to have a ton of stuff on the schedule just because we're out of the house a lot. Okay, so let's see, where are we with Jack? Jack is reading The Singing Tree right now, and I don't assign him a number of pages. Whoops. I can't even spell. I can't talk and write at the same time. That's bad. Okay. Depending on the book, I will usually give him, a week to 3 weeks to read the book, depending on how long the book is. But he usually reads 20 to 30 pages, and he'll stop like at the end of a chapter, and then we discuss it, and he writes a narration about it. I expect them to do a narration every day. I know that not everybody will do narration daily, but I think that it's good for my kids. It's just good practice. That's more of their formal writing, to write out a narration. I don't plan that here. I will have another little list in a second that I will show you, but that is what we work on. This week, Jack is going to be working on lighthouses for main studies. In my homeschool update video, I'll have a link for that in the description box. I said that main studies is not going all that great because it's kind of dry, just doing research and doing questions and worksheets. But yeah, we are still having to complete it, but I'm trying to incorporate more like documentaries and stuff, more fun stuff for him to do, so he doesn't spend all of his time working just on this workbook. When Emma did main studies, we were also doing Sunlight Level H, which is year 2 of 2 of world history, but I did not include that for Jack this year. He is doing Level H language arts, but not the history portion. So yeah, it's been a little bit drier for him. So I just write it that he can work on it all week, and he's expected to have it finished on Friday. If he has questions, he can ask me, but for the most part, he is really good about going through what he needs to get done. Then he has language arts H, week 14 mechanics, and he will just fill out whatever is on his worksheets for mechanics. That usually only takes 1 day. Teaching textbooks. And then, all right, so math, reading, language arts, history, science. His science unlocked. And he is just about finished with his entire box. So he needs to finish his last activity and then choose new box. I got him 4 boxes. Well, he chose 4 Science Unlocked units to work on, and so he will choose a unit, and I really enjoy these Science Unlocked units for middle school. They're very easy to be self-directed, so he is able to just go through the lesson. I check his answers afterwards. There's like a little instructor's guide to go with it. He's able to essentially set up all of his experiments on his own. Obviously, if he has questions or needs help with something, he can ask me, but that has been super helpful because I have had to spend a lot more time with Emma and her science and geometry, and then also obviously with Lucy because she's just in 2nd grade. And again, obviously it doesn't look like a ton of stuff, but I don't really schedule his Science Unlocked. He has been very good about just going to the next little lesson or activity throughout the week. So I just need to make sure that he has chosen a new box, and I go through it to make sure I know what he needs to be doing. And then he just works on it a little bit each week. When I write out their lists for the week, I use these little notepads to write out the kids' lists. I have a different one for Emma that has more lines because she needs a little bit more space. But for Jack and Lucy, I use these lists. I have a checklist on the side for their daily things that they need to do, like narration and wordly wise and world watch, their independent reading that they choose on their own, all of that kind of stuff. And so I don't need to plan it here. I will just write it on the list so that he can check it off each day. So he knows that he still needs to be doing something, but I don't necessarily say, okay, you need to make sure that you do this thing. And he's done a great job. So if I don't need to tell him to do certain pages and he just does them on his own, that's great for me. Okay, so obviously, again, not a ton of stuff, but just enough to make sure that I am checking off everything that we need. Also, we only have 3 weeks of school left before we start our winter break. So we are really just finishing up the first half of the homeschool year. So we are pretty much where we need to be with pretty much everything, and just finishing up a few last minute things, and then our main focus is NaNoWriMo this month. All right, so for Lucy, I don't do a ton of detail, like I said. Bible story, she is still finishing up her children's Bible. That is what her reader is for her language arts right now. So she is reading a Bible story every day, and then we discuss it. And then she is also doing some independent reading on her own. She has a couple of books she's reading. I think it's called Summer Pony that we got her. I think we got her Summer Pony and Winter Pony. They're just, beginning chapter books that she reads at night with a flashlight. And I also did just give her the first Nancy Drew Clue Crew book to work on because I want her to start reading those because I really like them. For Lucy, we're doing language arts 2 this year, and I, again, do not do a ton of formal writing with the kids in early elementary school. I do a lot of reading aloud, I do a lot of comprehension, and then a lot of copy work and handwriting. Lucy is still working on handwriting without tears and copy work, so I will have her do both the copy work 1 and copy work 2 from her language arts worksheets, and then on the other days we do handwriting without tears. And then she is using Singapore 2A right now for math. Then for history, we are doing Story of the World, and I just read the next story. We're using volume 2 right now. And so we just read a story together and then talk about it. And then our read aloud right now is a school story, which was one of Emma's favorite books when she went through this level many, many years ago. It is about a girl who writes a book and wants her mom's publishing company to publish it. Doesn't want to go through her mom, wants to do it of her own volition. So yes, so that is what that is. Oops. Okay, let me see. Yes, I think that is about it. And then I will do, so last week I actually started doing read aloud time with my older kids again. This year, based on the subjects that they are taking, we pretty much have no Sunlight history or read alouds this year. And I didn't like that at all. I missed the time for reading aloud. So I did pull out a history of us. Emma has done level 100 already. Jack has not done level 100, but I thought when we finished level 100 a couple of years ago, towards the end of the year, we were just trying to finish up all the books because this level 100 from Sunlight is so book heavy. There are so many books, and we were really focusing on the American Lit portion of level 100. We did all the history, but we kind of slacked on the spine in favor of all of the other books in the program. So we did read some of these 7, 8, 9, and 10, but I was just picking and choosing different stories. So we started this last week, and I'm going to continue reading through this. And I did mention this, I think, in my homeschool update, that next year Emma will most likely be doing 20th century world history. So obviously this is going to be going into the 20th century after we get out of book 7. So I thought it would be a good place to start for us, and kind of just a good option prior to starting 20th century world history. And then for the other read aloud that I'm doing with my kids right now, this is 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens, and I had originally bought this for Emma to read. I've been having her do a little bit more personal development type books this year, a little bit more, meaning I'm actually assigning her some of these books. But I was, again, looking for something to read aloud, and she hadn't started this, so I thought Jack is close enough to teens. He's 12. So I figured I would just start reading this to both of them. And so far we love it. It is really funny. And we have a lot of great discussions as we're reading through it. I do not assign like a specific number of pages. It really depends on the day. Especially when we have band, it's a little bit harder to spend a good chunk of time reading aloud. I try and do about an hour most days. If we don't have to be out of the house, then I try and read closer to 2 hours. And when I say read for 2 hours, there is a lot of interruptions with discussion. I will read 3 sentences and then we will talk for 10 minutes about something. So there's always questions being asked. There's always opinions being formed and that kind of stuff. So I will just put that we will read this every day. And then I'm not planning on doing read alouds on Friday because I want to spend any extra time that we have on NaNoWriMo this week. So I'm only planning for 4 days of read alouds. And this isn't associated with any sort of class. This is just, I think that this is good information to have. I've read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I did that in college. If you haven't read it, I really recommend it. It's a great book by Stephen Covey. And then this is written by his son. So the last thing I want to do for read alouds is Lord of the Rings. I've talked about how I want to do the slingshot from Brave Writer for Lord of the Rings with Emma, but we have not had time to really incorporate Brave Writer this year based on how busy we have been and how often we're outside of the house. And when I do Brave Writer, I need like a bigger chunk of time to sit down and work on that. Ideally, as we move into our winter break, we will probably do some Brave Writer resources. Even though we're on break, the kids don't look at Brave Writer in that way. They're mainly looking to take a break from math over our winter break, but things like read alouds, things like writing that they already enjoy doing, projects and fun activities, that they don't look at that as work because they enjoy it. So that is helpful. That is very helpful. And then the last thing that I have on the schedule this week is NaNoWriMo. I'm not going to schedule it. It starts on Tuesday, November 1st, and it's just, we're trying to write every day. The kids will choose their word goal. I haven't really talked to the kids about a word goal yet, but they will choose one on the 1st. We will start writing all together. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be a fun month of writing for us. So, and then over here in this last section, you could use this as another subject. If you have notes that you need to take or whatever, you could do that. I sometimes will write their daily lists over here just so that I remember what they're supposed to be doing for their dailies every day. And this is mainly Emma and Jack. And so they have World Watch, which is their current events. They have narration every day. They have Wordly Wise. They have Bible, and then independent reading. And that I don't really need to assign them reading for independent reading, but I do like them to constantly have a book to read at night before bed. So Jack is reading The Survivors, and Emma right now is reading Glass Sword. It is the second book in the Red Queen series, which I read Red Queen last year, and I need to read Glass Sword. I actually have the library book out, so if we could tag team reading that would be great. I don't know if we will or not. Emma is already reading Glass Sword. Yes, so I think that is everything. So this is kind of my week at a glance, and then like I said, I do write out the kids' lists on Monday morning so that they have a list to work off most weeks. Obviously, I did not do it this week because I had not planned out my week yet. But this is kind of how I plan out our week. Depending on the week, there are more or less things. I do try to touch on reading, writing, and math pretty much every day. Same thing with Spanish for Emma. And then history and science, we try to alternate. And it really depends on the week and what is in their science curriculum. In fact, I didn't even write science down for Lucy this week. We're reading through, there's an Usborn Animals book that we are reading through. So I think I need to have her choose a new continent, and then we will just, I do this with her in the morning during all of my other read aloud time. Yeah, okay, so this is our week at a glance. I really appreciate you coming and joining this sort of plan with me. If you have questions for me, please leave them in the comments. Again, I will leave a link to the planning playlist in the description box for the collaboration, as well as my 2022-2023 homeschool planning playlist, where you can see all of our curriculum choices and anything else that I do as I'm starting to plan my homeschool year. But once the homeschool year is started and I am familiar with all of our resources, because I spend a good amount of time at the front of our year planning and reviewing things, then we just kind of go to the next thing depending on what we have going on outside of the house. So that is everything, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye.